We're down to the final four teams in the college football playoffs. So Matt is here with me to break down the last two games before the national championship. So looking at that Miami-Ole Miss game, can Miami and Carson Beck put up points against this Ole Miss team who look electrifying on offense in their last two matchups?
Evan, I think if you look at these two teams, you look at Ole Miss, you look at Miami. Miami really closely resembles Georgia in the way they do things offensively. It runs through a strong run game. They're very patient in the pass game, and they've got an electrifying receiver on the outside. They're very similar, Georgia and Miami. The difference is, what is Miami going to do with Trinidad Chambliss? Clearly, the Miami defensive ends and the way they rush the passer is dangerous. But Trinidad's got that escapability. We all saw that against Georgia in the fourth quarter. My goodness. He starts making plays like that again, that's going to be problematic for Miami. And I don't know that Miami has the offense that can win a I score, you score, I score, you score game. Miami's going to have to make some defensive stops.
Looking at Ole Miss, they have a lot of noise on the outside with Lane Kiffin, LSU, and coaches moving over. Is that going to lead to a distraction with coaches possibly having to leave to go with him to LSU this year?
You know what, Evan? I think if it hasn't already, it's not going to now. There's so much drama right now in this situation. These assistants, other than Charlie Weiss Jr., have no idea whether they're coming or going. Charlie Weiss Jr. is basically the only guy who went in there and said, look, I'm doing it no matter what. This is, I can't leave these guys alone. And Lane has agreed to that. The rest of the assistants, who knows? Honestly, who knows what it's going to be day to day. There's been a lot of drama around this program for years, not just this year. So I think they're all used to it right now. They've kind of matured within and grown within that drama. So it's just second nature to them right now.
If you had to pick a big X factor for this game, what would it be?
I think it's how Miami can corral Trinidad Chambliss. If Miami can rush him and they can keep him in the pocket and prevent him from escaping and extending plays and making those big throws on broken plays, I think Miami will win the game. If they can't, if Trinidad does what he did against Georgia, Ole Miss is going to take this thing all the way to the championship game.
All right, so for this game, who is your pick to go to the national championship game?
I think Ole Miss, the run stays hot. I really do. It's hard to bet against Trinidad Chambliss right now. It's hard to bet against all this mojo that, the entire country now is an Ole Miss fan, simply because everybody wants to see Lane Kiffin get his just comeuppance, whether you agree with that or not. It's a fascinating run right now.
Yeah, they're looking like the team of destiny. Looking at the next game, Indiana, Oregon. We've seen this game already. Last game, Oregon lost a turnover battle to Indiana. Is that the key for them to giving them a chance against Indiana? Because last time they got an early pick six, but didn't really do much offensively afterwards, had two turnovers. Will that be the key for them, giving them a chance against this dominant Indiana team?
I think what Oregon has to do more than anything, Evan, is they've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage or at least get stalemates, because Indiana just flat out dominated them last time. I mean, I was out there and it was impressive what the Indiana defensive line did to Oregon. And I think that was the first game where everyone said, whoa, okay, this is much different than the Indiana team last year. And that defensive line is just dominating. We saw what it did to Alabama in the Rose Bowl. We saw what it did to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. We saw what it did to Oregon in Eugene in that crazy environment. It did not affect them. Oregon's got a very, very heavy lift on their hand right now. That game, the first game, I think Oregon playing at home helped them. Indiana kind of did a lot of procedural mistakes in the first half. The second half, they got things under control and just physically dominated Oregon. I don't see what Oregon can do right now to hang with Indiana. I think this is going to be another rout like it is with the Alabama game.
Are there any holes in this Indiana team that Oregon could try to exploit? Like you said, they've just been dominant, whether it's the Big Ten championship, their first game in the college football playoffs. Is there one area in Indiana's team that Oregon could try to take advantage of?
Well, the problem is they're so efficient, Evan, on both sides of the ball, and they're very confident in what they do in their game plan. I think that's why Indiana is so devastating right now every time they go out on the field. I think if you're looking at Oregon, there's one thing you're hoping for. You just got to hope that maybe Fernando Mendoza's off. If he's off, or if the receivers are off, or for one reason or another, there's a turnover here or a turnover there, then you might have a chance to hang with it. If Indiana plays its game, Oregon doesn't have a chance in that game. Not a chance.
All right, so looking at this one, what's the biggest X factor, whether it's for Oregon or Indiana? Let's look at for Oregon. What's the biggest X factor to give them a chance in this
protecting
game.
Dante Moore, no doubt about it. He was sacked six times last game. They sacked him 6 times again. Forget it. Absolutely forget it. Dante's a talented thrower. He's got good receivers out there, but if he doesn't have time to throw the ball, it's not going to matter. And again, that's what goes back to the defensive line for me. I think that's the one thing we talk about Mendoza, we talk about Surratt, we talk about Roman Henry, all the elite players on offense and the great offensive line. Everybody just forgets about that defensive line, which has had 2 key injuries and still dominates week after week after week. That, I believe, is the key to this Indiana team. When you think about it, too, Evan, all those great SEC championship teams, the Ohio State team last year, the Michigan before that, great defensive lines. Defensive lines win championships, and that's where Indiana is right now.
All right, so is it safe to say you're picking Indiana to beat Oregon again?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, looking at one last thing. Teams off the bat are 1-7 in the second round of the college football playoffs since the expansion. Does the NCAA need to consider moving this thing forward and not giving teams 3 weeks off, or is this just teams need to prepare better?
Well, I think everything's going to be looked at by the college football playoff executive committee at the end of this season. I think it's going to be procedurally format everything. If they go to 16, I think you have to start looking at everything. When does it end? When does the playoff end? Should you really be competing with the NFL in January? A very easy and simple way to do this is to move the start of the season a week back, and then you just play through the end of December and the championship games on January 1, and that's it. You're done. End of story. And it's too simple and too easy because when you do that, then it also takes care of the problems with the college football calendar. So everything looks perfect, right, Evan? And it won't happen because it just never does. They will never do anything easy and simple in college football because you've got 300 plus university presidents running the show, not one person.